Welcome to Issued for Construction. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobs. Today I've got with me a gentleman I was introduced to through another guy that we both know. His name's Randy Gladman. Randy is a great man. Randy, if you're listening to this, that's the first time you've ever heard me say that.
I was chirping him on LinkedIn yesterday.
For those that don't know, before I introduce Alex, I'm going to say Randy. Randy has been doing some amazing things for Canadian development. But outside of Randy, to the man sitting across from me, his name is Alex Josephson, and he is the founder of Partisans Architecture. And for those that aren't aware, well, you can head over to the Partisan website. You can see what they do. You're going to hear a whole lot about what they do now, and also where Alex started. So Alex, thanks for taking time out of what is, I know, a very busy day that you run to do this.
I'm just a talking head now, Jonathan. You know that we were doing a podcast. I'm not really that busy, am I? Thanks for having me, man.
It was actually a cool way of doing this, is that normally I have people over here and we have lunch, but we started actually over at Alex's office, and he toured me through the new space, and it's pretty incredible. He's got a very eclectic team that has a plethora of knowledge from around the world, and they're doing work all over the world. So I say that because let's go back to the root of where things started for you. What city were you born in, and what kind of kid were you, Alex?
A troubled kid from Toronto. I think everybody listening to your podcast has to know that this is basically paradise.
What is
our city?
Oh,
I mean, it's going through a bit of a challenging moment.
When we were driving here, we were not describing paradise.
No, but it is. If fundamentally,
yes,
you compare Canada and the circumstances that you and I grew up in,
yes,
and the places around the world that we could have been born into,
100%.
It's sort of like whenever someone, especially podcasts from around the world that I've been on now, that I'm having these conversations, and it's really about creating relationships.
Yep.
Because Canada really is quite isolated. Sometimes I equate it to being an island, especially since the United States has sort of turned its back on our relationship.
Yeah.
But it always was this sort of backyard. And I think...
Did you feel that as a kid, though?
Oh, I think that the Canadian condition is one of isolation and space. We have so much space.
Yes.
And we're so connected to our land. And at the same time, the riches, the bounty, the resource base is so
that we haven't tapped.
We're tapped. Believe me, we've tapped. We're just not. Let's address that in a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So first, you asked me where I'm from.
Yeah.
Let's ask me where I'm from. You don't always. I don't know if you focus on only get people in Toronto.
No, I talk to people from all over the world.
Yeah. So let's talk. Let's preface that with the audience listening. We're in Canada. We're in Toronto. This is a very special place. And the world recognizes that. Right now, I believe that our city and our country have a voice that it didn't have, probably as a result of Mark Carney's Davos speech. There's a small window of opportunity right now where we can take advantage of that. And so all the conversations I have, I'm bigging up Canada. I'm a patriot. I think that we should become patriotic. And we should invest in ourselves right now. So anyway, I'm from Toronto. I'm from Canada. I grew up in a lovely...
Welcome to Alex, everyone.
I grew up in a lovely environment, as I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
And
what kind of kid were you? Were you a kid that was like, were you scientific? Were you exploratory? Were you artsy? Did you get on your bike and you wanted to wheelies?
I was a kid that had a hard time.
Okay. With what?
Oh, I had terrible learning disabilities, and I had a really hard time with language. In fact, I probably had delayed reading and pronunciation, if you call it that. It's like central auditory processing disorder, they call it.
Okay.
And so I've had to deal with that my whole life. But as a kid, it was tremendously difficult because I was not a star student.
Yeah. And
I had to be put into... I was very lucky. My parents had the resources to give me the support I needed. And I eventually, got through junior school. But as a kid, I was very tactile. art was my thing.
Okay.
It was what I could do.
And what did you do? Like what kind of art?
Oh, so in Toronto, for those listening from around the world, I'm sure every city has this. There's a man named Marty Gross. And Marty Gross has an art school where he was a man that I think made a lot of money in real estate, but loved or came from a real estate family. And he created an art school and he taught kids and continues to teach kids black and white film composition as well as development. So he's a dark room. I mean, it's extraordinary as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old learning how to develop your own film.
You were working with film at 7 and 8.
Yeah, I bet this is not uncommon.
Incredible.
No, it's not uncommon. But he had film.
Yeah.
He had you could do claymation. You could do cartooning. Whatever you as a kid really gravitated to,
or could think of.
So one side was more photographic, animation,
right,
cartooning, but it tactile.
Right.
Pencils, crayons, Play-Doh, claymation, stop frame on the one side, so the clean room.
Yeah.
And then the other side, it got messy. There was a 5-foot by 5-foot kiln that he built.
Right.
There was custom glazes. You could make your own glaze. I mean, this was a place that was like a laboratory of tactile, artful.
It was like a candy store for your brain as a kid.
It was, for all intents and purposes, a major art school condensed into like 3,000 square feet.
Right.
It was amazing. And it was just kids. And I think it's still there. And it was my salvation every Wednesday. It was the most important thing in my life. Young kid.
Yeah.
And
did you feel isolated in school because of what you were dealing with?
Yes, I felt isolated. I felt ashamed. I felt bullied.
Right.
I felt I wasn't unathletic. I was a great skater, so I played hockey, and I felt like I had an identity in hockey. In the 80s in Canada, it's different today. I think there's a transformation happening around whether hockey is as central as it used to be. I think it's important still.
I was just talking to a buddy of mine, man, and what he just had to go through with his son.
Yeah.
Get him to make a select team.
It's still good.
It's crazy.
That's great. Good.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm happy it's still alive because I remember
very much so.
Yeah, that's great.
He just built a team because his son, the main team was full. So yeah, hockey is still very much thriving.
Oh, thank the Lord. So I remember that I was a goalie. So that also, if you think about goalies, goalies are a particular breed. You're isolated. I did things that I probably isolated myself as a kid and felt like
more comfortable, but maybe.
Well, no, I just felt
less at risk.
I'm talking about as a young kid. I had my difficulties, but so the art thing really was a big thing.
Yeah.
And I think the teachers were like, this is not university material. And I had great friendships growing up, wonderful brother. We built train sets together. We built Lego.
Motorized train sets or the kind that you'd pull around with your hands?
Motorized.
Okay.
Yeah, my father really indulged in us to build it was like a 10-foot by 5-foot train set that we built mountains.
Awesome.
Like it was a lovely thing, and we would go on the weekends with my father. He would take us to Rodney's Oysters for like a brunch, and then we'd go to a hobby shop.
Awesome.
And this was all in the East End when Rodney's was in a basement and not fancy.
Yeah.
Alex Josephson grew up in a household that took food in the home seriously. His family owned the cookbook store in Yorkville. His father was the kind of man who turned a dinner out into a ritual. That sensibility, caring about quality, caring about what surrounds you in a space is exactly the kind of thinking that connects to a partner like Kaplan's Appliances. Kaplan's is a third-generation family business, and that matters. Rob, the current generation running the store, brought Janine into it, and the team have built everything they do on one thing: service. Here is what most people do not realize about the appliance industry. Manufacturers set the price. It is largely the same wherever you go, so the question is never really about the number on the tag. It is about what happens after, and that is where Kaplan's is in a category of their own. When something needs attention, you do not chase down a manufacturer or navigate a warranty call on your own. You call Kaplan's. They manage it. They update you. They handle it. That is the commitment they make to every client, whether you are an architect, a designer, a builder, or a homeowner investing in a custom residential project. Kaplan's does not supply 500 unit condos with their appliances. That is a deliberate choice. They want to work with the kind of build and the kind of client where that level of attention actually means something. If that sounds like your project, reach out. Their contact information is in their liner notes, or email directly to me. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca, and I will connect you with Janine. She looks after client relations and will make sure you are in the right hands from the first conversation. If you're getting value out of this episode, also, please just take a moment to leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening on right now. It makes a real difference. And follow Issued for Construction on Instagram for more. Now, let's get into Alex and all he's got to say about his life and his work.
And it was a great childhood.
Right.
Yeah, but I had my, you want to humanize things. So
no, but that, but this is even right now what you're describing is humanizing. Like, you're talking about forming relationships with your family, having those core memories of like the things that you look forward to on a weekend. Like, yeah. I mean, that is what life is about. You're creating that now with what you've got. So we'll get there too. Yeah.
So let me just finish the childhood thing.
Yeah, please.
I want to be complete about it.
Yeah.
So, and this dovetails into the architecture thing. So,
well, there's a lot we're going to go through, so don't worry.
Yeah. I'm sure you have a whole script. My mother was trained at Parsons, and she left because she had to take care of her mother, who was dying when she was 20.
Yeah.
So my mother had a strong art background, and she had an incredible hand. My mother and father, as an early child, they would always help me with my science projects, and I needed a lot of help. And so I saw what my mother was capable of, and I think she inspired me. I think she really impressed me. And my father was a PhD pathologist, surgeon, real scientist, and kind of a know-it-all, to be honest with you. But and a short fuse. But I had these two characters.
You need to be so patient with everything else. Right?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I love my dad, but I'm just painting the picture.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And back in the day when school was really, really hard and you didn't get marks for
effort.
Yeah. My father was forced to do a PhD because he didn't get into medical school. So his friend's nickname for him was Dr. Because he partied too much at Western, which is, for those who aren't from Canada listening right now, Western is like the party school in Canada. That's where you go.
It was on a list. It was on a list in North America, like when we were younger.
But also at the same time, one of the great business schools in the world. Anyway, I digress. So you got my two parents.
Yes.
So then there were the grandparents, and they were on the one hand extraordinarily accomplished, and at the same time not intimidating at all. My grandmother loved me. They called her Mrs. J. She was, this is a woman who started a business when she was in 1935 with her husband. Very formidable businesswoman in Toronto, and her husband died in the early 80s. So she ran a business with several stores across the city, optician shops, for a better part of 15 years before my uncle took it over. And she was tough, and she did not treat me the way she treated my cousins and other people and my brother. She, for some reason, I guess she just liked me, which was weird because it wasn't until midway through high school that I was a respectable student, or what you might call someone to be proud of. But there was maybe just some quantum energy between us that she liked. And that's the way it worked. But she was extraordinary. She used to wear the same thing, at least almost all the time: black leather pants, pumps, a white blouse with a collar, and a black jacket. It was like she was a character. She had a huge personality. And then my mother's side, again, like another one of these like rags to, I want to say rags to riches, but rags to prosperity. These stories of people coming to Canada. My grandmother, she was part of a family that came here in 1820 from Vienna. Who leaves the center of the world, the Austro-Hungarian seat of power, in 1820? That's the most powerful empire in the world at the time, basically. I mean, maybe the British Empire, right? But like, you're talking about massive power, massive wealth, massive prosperity in Vienna. Who leaves Vienna in 1820 and comes to Toronto? What was here in 1820? Where we're sitting right now is probably a forest.
In 1820, 100% it was.
This was a forest with bears.
Yeah. The ants that surrounded us, rain free.
Like, and these people intrepidly saw. I mean, like and we'll talk about this later. I wish I knew. I wish there was a letter. I wish there was something that said what made them do that, because you had to have incredible courage. And so on my father's side, there's this just story of upheaval and emigration and then prosperity and hard work and it's just a funny thing, right?
Yeah.
And then on my mother's side, again, Eastern European Russian immigrants, but more like early 19 teens, post World War I kind of thing. And my grandfather, who was an extraordinary guy, the grandmother was Meryl Josephson, to give a name to a story. And my grandfather was William Finston. And William Finston graduated high school at 14, and he bought a truck to go and get scrap steel. He was collecting scrap steel. And can you imagine that? Like, what were you doing when you were 14?
What? Oh, why? Okay.
What were you doing when you were 14? Seriously.
Oh, you ask a valid question. What was I doing? I didn't expect this to be flipped on me. What was I doing? I was doing multiple things. I was playing tennis a lot. I grew up playing tennis. Obviously, I was in school. I say obviously. That's not obvious, but I was in school.
Not obvious.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Exactly. And I used to play basketball after school with friends. Call it from like when the bell rang, and we go to a friend's house. You play basketball.
So you were having a good time.
I was having a good time. Yeah. On the weekends, I would go see movies. I was not like the big party guy.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. It was.
You were having.
I was not buying a pickup truck and going collect scrap metal.
You were having.
But I was running a babysitting business.
There you go. You're entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I actually forgot to say this. Yeah, so and I was almost coaching tennis, but the babysitting business was a business. Like I had enough clients that I had one or two friends working for me.
Wow.
Wow. That was fun.
That's cool.
That was fun.
Like that is interesting.
I don't talk about that often.
At 14, I was like in the fall when I was 14, I was failing out of high school potentially.
Yeah.
And getting the riot act written to me because it wasn't even from partying. It was from a lack of focus.
Right.
In the meantime, my grandfather graduated from high school, had bought an old used truck, and was picking up scrap steel, making money for his family. And he eventually became successful enough that he owned his own scrap steel yard on what was Cherry Street Spit. Crazy. And that was the 1920s, 30s. I mean, like what these people went through, I can't even believe it. And now what we get to experience,
which is funny too, because I mean, look, you can't change. I say this because like, what you're describing, like you can't change what family you're born into. You can't do anything with that, right? Other than try to maintain some form of a legacy in the things that you're going to try to do for yourself, and make sure that you try to honor what all the trials and tribulations, successes, and probably multiple failures that people had to have in order to be able to gain their success. I say that because, you're now running a great practice. So continue. Sorry. I got you thinking.
But so before high school and my grandparents, I was interested in drawing and all these things, right? So when I was about 8, I think, probably around then, I guess that's when it was probably 7 actually, because it was probably grade 1, grade 2. I was still at what was, I guess, Forest Hill Junior School. And I had a crush on a girl from Toronto. Her name was Jessica Slan. I don't know where she is these days. I'm sure she's great, right? But I drew her a castle. And it was a castle in section. And you have to go back to Lego. Lego, you got the instructions and they were in section and 3D. And that really inspired me, and the castles and medieval culture. And it was a moment in the 80s when Lego was doing all this stuff. It's different today. It's much more based on movies and brand collaborations and stuff. There was a kind of whimsical quality to it, a very imaginative, whimsical quality to it.
I grew up in it. I mean, Lego was my favorite thing.
It's great still. I'm not slagging Lego. It's just, it was different.
Yes.
And so I drew this girl a castle in section, and I remember the drawing actually, and I guess I got a date out of it. And we played snakes and ladders. This is how I remember it. Maybe she'll get in touch and be like, it didn't go down like that. But to that point, I found out that the people who draw buildings for other people are architects. And then from that point on, everybody was like, you shouldn't be an architect.
Shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, no one in my circle was an architect. I didn't grow up with architects around me. Architecture is not a common profession in Canada. At least it's a minor rare study stream in Canada.
Yeah.
It's not like Italy or Germany or these other countries where architecture is almost seen as a very good liberal arts degree that you study and then you go on to do other things because it's so it's so variable. It's so versatile.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of rebellion. It was like everybody was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. It's really hard. It doesn't, you won't make a lot of money." And then this happened when I was about 12. A dear friend's grandmother died, and there was this huge party and tables and very fancy people. And I was wearing my little uniform from school, and I was introduced to a man named Jim Krang. And in the 80s and 70s, that one of the biggest firms in Canada was called Krang and Boak. It was this massive architecture firm. And he told me, "Oh, you shouldn't be an architect." Can you imagine like a 75-year-old man or 80-year-old man? He probably would have been 80 because he was friends with the woman who died. And he wasn't encouraging me. He wasn't saying, "Hey, come over."
Yeah.
I remember walking up to him, and I remember I have the distinct memory of this.
Excited, full of piss and vinegar, and like, let's do this.
Just like, you really shouldn't do this. Are you sure, son? I don't know if you want to do this.
Right.
Alex spent years in Europe studying under some of the most demanding architectural minds in the world. He came back with a deep understanding of what precision fabrication actually looks like and what it means to work with companies that treat craft as a non-negotiable. That standard is exactly what The Doors brings to every project. When you work with The Doors, you are dealing directly with Martin and Marta, the owners. Not a sales team, not a rep, the people who built the company and who stand behind every product they provide. That relationship matters in an industry where it can be easy to feel like you are being passed around or let down once the order is placed. The Doors operates differently. They care about delivery. They care about service. They care about pricing that is honest and matched to your actual budget without gouging, without the games. What also sets them apart is what they have invested internally. They run an aluminum cutting machine in-house. They operate a spider crane to assist with installs. They are not relying on outside parties to fulfill what they promised. They do it themselves, which means fewer delays, fewer handoffs, and a level of accountability that is genuinely rare. Their product offering spans aluminum systems, a full range of window and door options, and the kind of variety that works across project types and price points. Whether it's fiberglass, vinyl, wood, steel, and as previously mentioned, yes, aluminum. So if you want to learn more, the details are in the liner notes. To connect with them or reach out to me, it's Jonathan, Jonathan at issuedforconstruction.ca, and I'll connect you directly with Martin and Marta. Lastly, if this episode has been worth your time, 5 stars wherever you're listening. It helps with the reach, and follow us on Issued for Construction on Instagram to stay connected and see the projects we're talking about. Now, back to Alex.
But so some kids do drugs, they run away, they paint their nails black, they dress up as a goth, whatever it is, you rebel.
Yeah.
So what became clear was, no one wants to be an architect. This is my form of rebellion. It was like telling my family I wanted to be an actor or something. It wasn't they were so down on me, but it was certainly like, "Oh, you're going to have your work cut out for you, young boy, because this is not an easy path."
Right.
And it was like rebellion. And that was my rebellion.
Right.
It probably kept me out of a lot of trouble, well, at least some. I did other things that got me into a lot of trouble, like joyriding cars and throwing eggs at buses and dumb things like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of eggs in the world.
You can clean them off.
Exactly. So what? So you started focusing in high school on, rather than making the assumptive statement, let me ask the question. Did you then start focusing on school subjects that would lead you to that path? or not?
No, because the number of people who understand the path that you need to get to be a good architect in Canada, even I would say today, is less it's not common.
Okay.
And so obviously you immediately, everybody's like, oh, you have to be good at math and art. This is
were you good at math?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I could draw, and I liked art, and I was handy, but I was not a good student. It wasn't until my mother convinced a beautiful school in Toronto in the mid 90s called Royal St. George's College, which was it's an all boys school. It's I think very she today. There was a very good art program there. It was the arts boys school, and she basically was like, listen, I have faith in this boy. Give him a year. If he doesn't have a 75 at the end of the year, you can kick him out. And at the end of the first term, it was looking like a 55, not a 75. Like I remember crying in math class because you asked about math, and his name was Werner Schreiner, the math teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple of people who saved my life, and he's one of them. And my mom just, she to the mothers out there, that instinct, that representative instinct in a mother for their kids, it's like the most valuable thing in the world.
I mean, my wife, same way, man. So really, really, really short, but on this, but my wife did the same thing. Our eldest daughter, as she was growing, she was not growing properly.
Uh-huh.
She was 3, and she had dry skin. Her hair was not looking amazing.
Yeah.
And we got her tested, and it turns out that she had celiac. And she
my Lord,
one of the youngest kids ever tested at Sick Kids. And we immediately changed her diet, and now she flourishes. Fantastic. And that's as a result of my wife's instinct.
Instead of you going like, oh, we just got a dud.
I didn't mean, I would be so far from that. Oh my God, Wendy, imagine I said that to you.
I'm just saying there's a very different way.
The maternal instinct is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And we definitely don't have that.
My wife has it.
Yeah. No, I'm saying we.
No, we don't.
No.
I know some men have it. Some men have
not quite the same way.
Not the same. I don't want to be. I don't think this is a gender.
I mean, whatever.
I'm just saying that the maternal instinct
is incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And Werner Schreiner saved me. He spent time with me after school because I don't know why. I don't know why he did.
Right?
I don't know why he did.
I remember telling my grade 11 math teacher I was dropping out of his class, and he gave me a piece of paper. He said, "This is how many jobs you're not gonna get."
Well, I mean,
and my response to him, I said, a lot of those jobs you can use calculators.
Well, you were much smarter. You were much more innovative in your response. I cried. I felt like a failure, and I felt like I was going to disappoint my family, and I guess I got help.
Right.
And I also saw a psychiatrist, and I got help.
I went down that road too in my youth. Yeah.
My mother helped me. My mother helped me, and I think that a lot of boys growing up, development's scientifically and clinically proven to be slower, and we're different.
Yeah.
But I think the mother and that teacher at St. George's, and then suddenly this other teacher, extraordinary man, John Villion, bless his soul. He passed away at a very young age. One of Canada's most celebrated realist figurative artists, portrait artists, portraitists, classical painter by training. And he decided he wanted to teach at Royal St. George's. And it was interesting. He was a UCC boy. And
he wouldn't go back to UCC.
He was too good for them. Way too good at art. Because UCC isn't an art, like that was an athletic school at the time. Like
right.
That school was forced into evolution because of because of its sins. I mean, that school produced awful cultures of behavior. And I remember as a kid, it was stark, the difference between the cultures of these boys' schools.
Right.
And St. George's was about culture. It was about art. It was also about science and those sort of things. But there was this incredible investment in culture. And amazing artists have come out of the school, including musicians and singers, opera singers, bands. And John Villion taught me how to draw. I already drew, but this man, he taught me how to sculpt with a pencil.
Right.
I mean, he was an award-winning, internationally revered classical painter. And he basically, with these small classes, and I started living in the
How many kids were in the class?
Like 8.
Okay. And did you ever get extra, like, or would you want to get extra time with him afterwards? Like, did you?
Oh, I started to live in grade 10. I essentially started to live at the school.
Right.
I'd come home at 6. People would stay and do athletics.
Yeah.
I also did some athletics, but I did art, and I remember I'd come home at around 6.
Yeah.
And, school ends at 2:45, right? And he would stay with me, and it was funny. All these art schools at high schools and stuff, they have pottery wheels and kilns and all this. He was like, Alex, do you want one of these? They're useless. They're dead to me. Like he was like, this is not hobby house. This is classical art training here.
Yeah.
And
learn the mastery of this craft.
And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have gotten into architecture school. I wouldn't have had the advisory that knew the process of trying to get into a US school or a good university for this.
Right.
Because nobody was applying to these programs for architecture.
Mm-hmm.
That's how rare it was. But these are the people that really stuck out, and it worked.
Okay. I'm absorbing it for a second. Because I can appreciate that. I mean, it's funny. So I was talking with Anya Moryosef months ago about this, and we both went to the same high school. We went to York Mills in Toronto. Mm-hmm. At the time that we were there, York Mills was rated as the #1 public high school in Canada. Mm-hmm. And, talking about lucky to experience something like that, they had a 98% graduation rate. And we had a teacher in art who was so tough, but she ended up actually becoming, in many ways, as you described this gentleman, a mentor for her. Yep. And her tutelage to be able to go out and grow. And there are these figurative people that you can meet when you don't know that you need to meet them, that completely transform your entire trajectory of life. And it's a beautiful thing to know that, like, those kind of people exist.
My guess is that teachers live for that.
Yeah.
And they pick their opportunities.
Yeah, but it's a really hard profession, and you're met with a lot of challenges to be able to get to the point where you have a kid now that, like, reinvigorates your love for the craft.
You mean for teaching?
For teaching. Yeah.
Teaching is so hard.
It's so hard. So okay, so let's talk about what you take away from this, and what does it turn into? Where did you end up applying for university? Where did you go?
So I applied to Cornell and Waterloo and U of T, and I think that was it.
Okay. And
I may have also applied to McMaster for health sciences or something. No, there was my physics teacher. I was really, really into chemistry and physics.
Okay.
I was like, as much as I was into art, I was seriously into physics and chemistry, but and all the other things like the humanities. I wasn't a superior student. Like, I became top 5 in the class there. Yeah. But I also got into public speaking. I was a bit of an exhibitionist when I came, an extrovert, not an exhibitionist, but certainly an extrovert.
Right.
And or at least I liked attention, and maybe that's true today too.
Okay.
But
so what'd you do? Where'd you go?
So I got all these university applications in.
Yeah.
And my father drove me down to Cornell, and I had this interview, and the guy was just like, "You need to do art school. You don't want to be an architect." It was like a flaming train wreck. It was a terrible interview. And
was it your first of the schools you had an interview?
There weren't. Waterloo had very rigorous. Yeah, I'll tell you about that.
I know. So, that's why I asked if it was the first one.
It was the first one, and my dad. It'll come back to my dad later. My dad drove me down there.
Okay.
My dad snored so much that the hotel we stayed in, I took the duvet off the bed and slept in the bathroom because I couldn't sleep. It was a combination of anxiety and my father snoring. Yeah. And I remember this trip. And anyway, circle back to that. Waterloo's interview process was rigorous.
Yes.
It had a writing test. It had an interview. It had a portfolio. It was, and at the time, it was the hardest architecture school in Canada to get into. And so I got in there, and I got into health sciences, I believe, at McMaster. And it was a tough choice, but basically, I didn't get into Cornell. And I learned later that my father was like so happy because the cost of going to these schools is just mega. I got it back later, but yeah, I'll tell you about the like just my escapism academically to Europe. It was expensive, but he supported me, but I think that was a gift.
Okay,
that was a kind of silver lining, and I accepted Waterloo, and yeah, Waterloo is a very special school. It teaches architecture in a different way. There's a course called iconography, which essentially forces is the word. You have to read a canonical level piece of literature, and you start, each term is a different era. So you might start in modernism, for example, and then you go back in second term to like Roman era. Okay. And then you read the pieces of literature, philosophy from these eras, and you are given one question a week, and you have half an hour to answer it. Evaluate the significance of whatever this is in the context of the book, blah, blah, blah. And it was evaluative criticism. And you had to read the book, and you had to have a very strong sense of lateral thinking. And a good grade was a C+.
Right.
I mean, I went from being a strong mid-90s student in high school to being proud of my grade point average in my first term at Waterloo of being like 81 or something. It was like a big deal because the average when I started university at Waterloo, there were no participation grades. You could fail. Kids failed.
I mean,
I was going to fail in high school. Like, kids fail. And now kids don't fail. Nobody fails.
I know.
There's no failure anymore.
So it's so broken.
Who created this?
It's so broken.
I am not an insensitive person.
Yeah.
I'm not mean. I'm not evil.
Yeah.
But this idea that,
like, what happens in work culture when you're eventually going to go and deliver something and it's trash?
You get
fired. It's the first time.
You get fired.
In
you get put on a
first time in 20 plus years.
In Canada, you're put on a performance improvement plan, and then when that fails, you're fired.
Yeah.
So I ended up at Waterloo. What about you? Where'd you end up?
I studied a program called it was broadcast and print journalism and media studies.
Cool.
And it was part of the first year of this assemblage of the university. There were 3 programs. There was us. There was business. I think there was computing.
Yeah.
And in ours you could pick your stream of either PR or media, and you ended up getting a condensed, typical of, if you want to do these independently, you'd have to do a 4-year media studies degree at Guelph, and then do a 2-year diploma program at Humber. And they combined them. So they took 6 years of school and put them into 4. We had stuff due. You'd have you could have multiple projects due in a week.
Oh, so hard.
And I also had a learning disability and struggled with that a lot over the course of my life. That school put me to the test, like to the brink. I told my dad I was dropping out after 3rd year, and my dad and I almost got into a fist fight.
Yeah,
and
that's hard.
And he had to go for a drive, and I had to go talk to my mother, and my mom was just, it's going to take him a minute to get around to this. She's always been, to your point about mothers, my mom has always been an incredible force of nature.
Yeah,
being able to speak some level of reason into a situation and analyze things at a very, very granular level. But it was tough going.
Yeah,
and post-secondary, nowadays with the invention, and we'll get there, I'm sure, as we start talking about what you do, AI has changed so much, and it's made so much more accessible to students.
Yep.
And to people in general. So now the question becomes like, do you really need the post-secondary education?
Oh, I have no comment on that.
Yeah. So
I'm just trying to be a dad of a 2-year-old right now and a 6-month-old.
Exactly. Well, and run a business or 2. So let's talk about evolution past school, or maybe do you want to talk about school? Do you want to talk about?
I think that the interesting part about school, when you talk to me about school, is what I ended up getting away with.
I was gonna say, like, were there any foundational elements that you felt like have stuck with you from those 4 or 5 years in school? Because I have a feeling that like the Rome program that they offer is what essentially set you up for wanting to go to Europe.
So I'll just do it long story short, or short story long. But I got an internship first year university for Barton Myers in Los Angeles. Barton Myers was one of the most celebrated architects in 70s and 80s in Toronto, and he moved to Los Angeles. So I got an internship there, went there. My second year of architectural school started on September 11th, 2001, which was a really intense experience. And that was my first exposure to Robert Jan van Pelt, who's a world-renowned professor and writer. And he invented what you'd call forensic architecture.
Okay.
And he proved that the concentration camps were essentially architectural mechanisms for death. And you had the drawings and the evidence, and he wrote the book on how architecture oppresses, and the power of architecture as a political tool, not just to be a vehicle to create a Holocaust in that context, but for other things around the world. And then you had firms that actually came out of his thinking, like I.L. Weitzman, the forensic architecture firm, amazing things. And so Robert Jan van Pelt. Then there was Philip Beasley, who's also a world-renowned architect, thinker, artist. Did an internship for him, and I ended up at Jack Diamond's office for a quick stint. And while I was there, it became clear that I just didn't fit in, and that I didn't belong here anymore. In fact, I was told that by an architect there who said, "Alex, you just simply don't belong here." Yeah. And he said, "Listen, you need to apply to this firm in Italy, and you need to leave Canada, and this isn't going to work." So I think that they probably were fine. It was just a 4-month internship, but if it was an employment situation, I'm sure they wouldn't have moved forward with keeping me. But I applied to this firm in Italy called Massimiliano and Fuksas, and they gave me a job. It was crazy. It was like a lark. And I said, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible." And I went to my father and I said, "Hey, I at least negotiated 500 euros a month. It's not going to cut it in Rome, but I want to move there for the year because Waterloo has a program in Rome, and I have an 8-month co-op, and I just got a job at one of the most prestigious architecture firms in the world, and I got to do this, and you're going to need to support me, please." It was like, and he said, case. And he was like, "Good for you." He was like, "Good for you." He was like, "This is amazing." Yeah, I thought, because my dad is a tough guy, especially around like asking for money and stuff like that.
But you didn't say whether or not he said yes.
Of course, he said.
He said, "Good for you." He said yes.
My dad did not say "good for you."
Oh, okay. I was waiting with bated breath. I'm like, what's good?
You have to understand that for me, my father saying "good," like good, like congratulations. That's like to impress the doctor. Seriously, he was a very critical. He's alive. He's great. We have a better relationship now than we've ever had. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But he was a really critical guy, easily frustrated, worked a bit like crazy hours on call. These surgeons give their lives. Just, it's unbelievable what they do. So he gave me this gift, and my mother, obviously, they gave me the gift together. And I wasn't expecting them to say yes because it was going to cost a lot of money, but they supported me and they said, "Listen, like," they didn't know a lot about architectural education, but I think they recognized the opportunity. And my mother had lived all over the world. My grandfather, who was 14 and built that business, he was able to retire at like 40.
Right.
And he took his family all over the world. My mother lived all over the world. And what I believe happened was my mother and father talked, and my mother was like, "This is the biggest gift we can give."
You're investing in your child. Yeah. I mean, you listen to this now and you go tell me that you wouldn't invest in your own child. Like, come on.
Yeah, but you don't know that as a child.
I know that.
When you have critical parents.
But I'm also saying it from the standpoint of like, if you, like as a listener, you'd be like, okay, he was given this gift of like being able to go there. Yeah, but like if you're a parent, if you ever want to be a parent, you go tell me that you wouldn't throw everything you could at your child.
Not for no reason.
Well, not for no reason.
Not for their whims.
100%.
Not for their whims.
I'm saying it in this context of what you just described. They've now found a path that has been a struggle their entire life, I should say. And they've arrived at something that is now meaningful in the truest sense of the word for what they could go do for themselves. Yeah, you invest.
Yeah, of course. But as a child, you don't know this, and it's a lot of no.
Mm-hmm.
So it was yes. And so that became that co-op, that became 5 years. That became meeting an Italian girl who was extraordinary and falling in love for the first time and having a job at an amazing place, seeing some of the most incredible. By the way, this idea that Italians don't work hard and aren't efficient, they're the hardest working, most efficient architects in the world. I'm working on a project in Rome right now myself, which is Full Circle. And that project is one of the most efficient projects in my office. So the prejudice around Italian culture and work is such a lie. They are some of the most sophisticated, hardworking people in the world. Anyway, so
yep.
I stayed there for 5 years. My girlfriend, we lived in New York for a term together, came back to Rome. I started doing art. I did some crazy things in Rome. I got really interested in politics and aesthetics. Everything changed in Rome. You go from studying in the boonies outside of Toronto in Waterloo. Now, Waterloo is extraordinary for technology, and that still influences me today, and it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't learn about architecture staying there. You had to see these places. You had to live there.
Right.
And when you see how Rome feels for the first time, the intimidation of that place.
I've said this a few times on here. I've never been to Europe.
Oh, come on.
I know.
I don't want to hear that.
I'm sorry. I haven't been to Europe.
Well,
you know what's going to happen next year?
What?
Or potentially even this year. I'm going to Europe. Believe me.
With the kids?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so. No, I had never been. And this isn't a matter of me like intentionally trying to shelter myself from it. I never had the opportunity to go. I've always been working and never really made it as something that I was going to go do.
It wasn't a priority for you, but you built this beautiful house. So it's crazy. You're a very sophisticated guy, but you're not necessarily well-traveled, which is kind of an ironic disconnect, right? Because you usually associate sophistication with travel, and you're the...
I've seen all of Canada, pretty much.
But this is an interesting counterpoint. This is an interesting counterpoint. But yeah, I can't wait to talk to you
after I've gone to Europe.
Let's do a podcast afterwards, and I'll interview you about your experience in Europe. But you go from Toronto, which is a city that makes your eyes bleed.
Yeah,
it's so ugly. Like our city is, it suffers from.
Yeah, let's not bash our city right now. Come on, let's talk about the joy of Rome.
Sorry, I said Toronto and Canada. I started off with saying we're amazing.
I know.
I'm allowed to criticize the fact that the architecture here is woefully under visionary.
Fine.
Yes. No, because the problem is this. If we are delusional, it's a lie. We can't lie.
I wasn't talking about lying. I was talking about more continuing the story about Rome and the experience.
We're going to continue Rome, but I want to talk to you about this. Romans are argumentative.
Yep.
And they confront things. That's what I learned about them. And they can have these confrontations and arguments. And it's actually how they improve their relationships.
I mean, look, I've talked about this before. I'm a
disagreement is okay.
I'm a Jewish guy. Like, you know, we know this.
Yeah.
There's you go into a lot of debate in Judaism.
Yes, you do. I know
endless debate. It's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the beautiful part about Jewish culture. Yeah. It's also, I think it's just a common thing that ancient cultures have. Ancient cultures, conflict is a natural form of communication.
Yeah.
And you don't hate each other after conflict. You actually learn more about each other. This idea of apology of the Canadian the constant apologies for having an opinion or it's unsupportable.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you talk about like philosophers and stuff like that, you know, and like the lineage of debate and stuff. And I mean, most of these guys you talk about, you know, thousands of years ago, they were just smoking opium and coming up with stuff.
Maybe they were. I don't have.
We weren't around. We don't know that for sure. But I mean,
It's
highly likely.
It's possible. But
sorry,
back to Rome.
Yes.
So Rome changed my life in every way. It changed my life from a relational perspective. It changed my life professionally. It changed my life academically. It changed my life in how I saw the world. And that was really important.
Yeah.
And went to school there, was able to do courses there. Waterloo actually created the first class of master's students there. When I moved to Rome originally, I was really, really lucky that the Canadian Prix de Rome still existed, and they had an apartment. And I stayed in this apartment. It had all these sort of relics of design from some of the most storied Canadian architects that had won this and had designed the furniture, the bed, It was kind of this, in the end, a bit of a dingy apartment, but it was right in the center of Rome in Trastevere. And it was just amazing. And that was 2003. And yeah, I have to understand that when you go to Europe, when you go for the first time, it's really different now. When I lived in Rome, that was the last, my guess is I experienced the last gasp of what was the Dolce Vita. Before, Rome was crowded, but Italy is now overrun. When I lived in Rome, you walked into St. Peter's. There was no lineup. You walked into the Pantheon. There was no ticket. These places were open, and there was a map made of Rome called the Noli map. It's this famous drawing that a lot of people, they don't realize it's by Noli. It's not Piranesi, but it looks like a Piranesi. And this map was about showing the incredible volume of space in Rome that is public. So in that map, it's the dark, it's figure ground. So the dark gray ink is private, the white is public. And so you see all these churches and spaces, and it told you what you could go visit. And it is so astonishing what I walked into, the places that I just stumbled into. And it's now closed. Tickets, please. and that will be an interesting experience for you, because it's now an economy of tourism, but it is so extraordinary, that city. Yeah.
I'm also going to be able to go and experience things a little bit differently. I think next time I start doing some of these travels, because now I've started to meet people in these places, interview them, and I have lots of people telling me, like, come, and I'll take you through the city, and I'll show you stuff that like no one gets to see. Yeah. So like,
that's how you have to see things now.
Yeah,
I didn't when I moved to Rome, I didn't know a single person. After I started at Fuksas's office, and you go there, and it's like, I worked at these famous architecture firms in Canada, the United States. Those places couldn't shine a light to this guy. Like, this studio was like, I had entered hallowed ground.
Right.
It was intimidating. And they were doing things and making things. And they're impressive to this day, but I'm just saying, like, I had my ASS handed to me. I remember called my parents on like week 2, because you're just working so hard, all-nighters, all this stuff, doing the things that you don't want to do, but have to do. And I started crying, because I can't speak Italian. They only speak Italian. Nobody speaks English. They really didn't. They spoke barely any English.
I bet you they did. They just didn't want to do it.
No, this was 25 years ago. They didn't.
Yeah.
It was not.
So? You walk out the door closes, and they all start talking.
No, they asked me to start helping. The only people who spoke fluent English there were German.
Okay.
And in Germany, they have extraordinary architecture schools in Germany and Switzerland to this day.
Yeah.
Stuttgart and ETH, and they're 2 of the top 5 schools in the world, and were back then. So the Germans spoke English, and I know that they didn't speak English, because when they did competitions and they needed to do an English submission, I ended up doing a bunch of these while I was there. Hey, you're the person who speaks English. Can you do this? This competition's in English. Can you help us? And I was crying. I was just like, I can't speak Italian. I don't know anybody here. I feel so alone.
Did you pick it up over time?
Oh, so slowly. It was brutal. Okay. I actually learned more Italian because I kept my phone in Italian and did Rosetta Stone after I left. My girlfriend in Italy, she refused to speak in Italian to me. I had a funny story when It's not really PC. I can tell you afterwards, but basically,
Fair enough. I'll leave it at that.
but basically, like in a nutshell, I came from Canada. I knew some French with a Quebecois accent, and I was trying to speak Italian, but emulating my girlfriend's voice, and not knowing that in Italian, the way you sound is very gender specific. This is Latin language. They're very gender specific, and Rome is a very gender focused dialect.
Right.
It's not a dialect, but Roman Italian is, it's beautiful in that sense, the differences in gender, in language, but you can imagine how I sounded. I didn't, she was like, it's like listening.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You teach me English, and I taught her English.
What was one of the rarefied air things that you got to experience living there for 5 years? It was kind of immersed in the culture. I know.
So many things.
Think of a couple of them. Like,
I was in rare space.
Walking down an alleyway to a coffee shop that really only the locals knew about, or
the things that I remember the most were there's probably like five experiences I had in Italy.
Okay.
Between things that I experienced and things that I did.
Fabricator space,
I'll tell you about the 5 things.
Okay.
So one, I already told you about the job. So that was, and it truly is in the architecture world. What I had there was amazing. And then I came home to my apartment having been broken into. This is a funny story. My apartment was broken into by gypsies.
Okay.
And they took anything with a circuit. I came home late at night from being out, and anything electronic was gone. So they'd stolen my laptop, they'd stolen everything. So I had to redraw my thesis work, and it was interesting. Like, Toronto is going through this now, and that's just what I learned, is that's just part of Roman culture. That's, if you don't make sure your space is secure, it will, you can get robbed. And it was interesting that I learned the hard way, but it fooled me twice. So then a couple of years later, when I was doing my master's, they broke into the studios at the Rome studios for the University of Waterloo, and they stole everybody's laptop. They dressed up as HVAC consultants.
Wow.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Great move.
And so I said, I bet you they're taking these to the Porta Portese. They're going to sell used laptops. And I bet they're going to take our stuff to the Porta Portese. And it was a Saturday morning when everything got stolen. And I was like, that's when the Porta Portese market, everything is there. So I thought I was brilliant. So I went to the Porta Portese market, and I found like the meanest looking gypsy that was standing around that I'd ever seen, that looked like he was scouting. And I said, where, I rubati, dove sono I laptop rubati? And he looked like basically what I was saying is, where are the stolen laptops? And he looked at me like, and I was like, no. Devo cercare uno specifico. I was like, I need to find the specific laptop. You take me. And this guy actually took me to where all the laptops were.
Come on.
I swear to God, this is a great story. So I go to the part where the laptops are, and my classmate, she was really sad. She lost her laptop too, and I knew what they looked like.
Yeah. And
so I went with a few €100, and I found our laptops. And I was like, I felt like a genius. I was the smartest person in the world. And I'm like, I'm checking all the laptops as if I don't care. Like, I don't want to make it look like I want one more than the other.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need a few laptops. Will you give me a deal? Blah, blah. I tried to make it out like they probably knew exactly who I was. Anyway, so I find my laptop. I find the other laptop. They haven't wiped them, but I didn't log in or anything like that. And I was like, I want these two. And I ended up negotiating €250 for the 2 laptops, and they threw in a camera, a stolen camera.
With someone else's photos on it.
And 2 laptop and a laptop bag. Or 2 laptop bags, sorry.
Did you upgrade your laptop bag?
Yeah. I got laptop bags and a camera.
I was saying, did you upgrade? You might have had one when it started.
Didn't have one.
I'll take the leather one.
No, these were like I thought I was the smartest person. Anyway, so I go back to the studio. I give them the €250. I go back to the studio. I remember this to this day, every single moment. And I go back to the studio, and we opened the laptop bags, and it was boxes of salt. And I was like, no. I was like, well, they may have gotten away with this one, but I saw them put the laptop in this one, so it must be 2 laptop bags of salt.
Wow.
And I was like, not even the camera was there. And I was like, that was the best magic trick I've ever seen in my life. It was the best magic trick I have ever seen in my life. I don't know how they did it in front of me.
Alex has spent his career asking what it means to build something better, not just differently, but genuinely better. Yuri at Aquanta Pools is asking the same question, just in a completely different medium. Aquanta is a certified installer of biodesign pools, and if you have not come across biodesign before, it is worth understanding what makes it a fundamentally different product. Biodesign eliminates concrete entirely from the construction process. Instead of poured concrete, the system uses a patented structural coating made from resins and quartz sand that carries twice the mechanical resistance of traditional concrete. The waterproofing liner is EPDM, a material that is chemically inert, free of heavy metals and polluting additives, and carries an elasticity of 300%, meaning it moves with the ground rather than cracking against it. The liner system is Greenpeace approved. Microban Silver Shield antibacterial protection is built directly into the resin at the manufacturing stage, actively inhibiting bacteria growth and reducing the maintenance burden over the life of the pool. The result is a product that is more durable, more environmentally responsible, and far more design flexible than what you get from a standard fiberglass or concrete installation. Biodesign pools can be sculpted with beach entries, underwater seating, gradual slopes, and free-form geometries that standard builds simply cannot achieve. And they work across contexts: custom residential, boutique multi-residential, hospitality. They're even installing a dog pool. Yes, you heard that correct. Yuri believes there is a better way to build pools. The product backs that up. If you want to learn more about Aquanta, head over to the liner notes or email me at Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca, and I'll make a personal introduction. Last thing to say is that if you're enjoying this show, you've already heard it, but I'm going to say it again. Please give it 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on. It goes a long way with reach and visibility. And you can follow us on Instagram at issuedforconstruction for everything in between the episodes. Now, back to Alex.
But it was, I go over in my mind because it's so vivid. Magic. Anyway, so fascinating. So that, and then I traveled to Sicily with my girlfriend at the time and went to a place called Lecreto by Buri, which is in a city that is called Gibellina.
Okay.
And this city was destroyed by an earthquake. And in the 60s, the new mayor there created essentially a tomb with this artist, Alberto Buri. And they made this amazing thing called the Creto. It's now, everybody in the world talks about the Creto now. I was like, I've been there like 3 times. You know, it's in the middle of nowhere in Sicily, about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Palermo. And it is one of the most awe-inspiring experiences in the world, architecturally, philosophically, culturally. Imagine going to a town and the streets are everything is concrete. The blocks that fell, everything is covered in concrete. So it's like a you know, when the desert has water on it and it cracks into that's what they did. They entombed everything, and so it looks to this day like concrete cracks, like the desert sand or mud has dried too quickly after a flood, and you get this incredible cracking. And you walk it's the scale of a person. It's unbelievable. It's in the middle of nowhere in Palermo. And then I had the experience of meeting some of the greatest artists alive in Italy. Giorgio Armani, Antonello Venditti, incredible people. Joseph Kosuth, he's American, but he was living in Rome. Just revered people.
In what context?
Really intimate contexts.
Cool.
Really intimate, special things. The Armani called me Canadese. Canadese. Hey, Canadese. You know, it was beautiful, actually.
Cool.
And so I got to meet titans of all sorts of different industries.
Yeah.
And the Italian version of these people is larger than life. If you can imagine Canadian American celebrities being larger than life, the Italians do it better than anybody, right? And these guys were incredible. And then a couple of things that I did there, I became very interested in culture and how architecture and politics and culture navigate each other. It wasn't like I was going to get a big building and commission in Rome. And I said, well, how can I express my design and art and ideas if I can't build a building? And so I just was inspired by this. I started to really get interested in politics. And I think it's because Italians talk about politics all the time. And they're so aesthetic about it, because everything in Italy is about beauty. It's about other things too, but beauty is really important there. And they call it the sprezzatura or bellezza. It's a very important part of their culture, and the world benefits from that. Mm-hmm. They would probably say that, there's a higher degree of closeness to objective beauty. They're very opinionated about these things, form and aesthetics. But there was an election for the mayor of Rome, and as a Jewish kid from Toronto, I was appalled that basically a fascist, an avowed fascist named Giorgio Alemanno, was going to win the mayoralty. And this really amazing guy who was the minister of culture was going against him, and he lost somehow. And I just couldn't believe that the Romans had, anyway, there wasn't a majority. And in Rome, you have to win a majority. It's not like Toronto where you can have a bunch of losers take the vote and split it, and then the guy who gets 25% or 35% wins.
Right.
They do runoffs. They do a runoff until you get 51%. That's democracy. What happens in this city that's not a democracy. Like, what we do here is wrong. So, segue to politics. I was like, you know what? If no one's going to run against him, and no one was running against him in the runoff, the other guy in the Ministry of Culture was so humiliated and so angry that he didn't win that he said, right. No. You get what you deserve. That's how principled these Italians are, right? Yeah. And I created a fake political candidate. And I found out that in Rome, the way people, in 2003, there wasn't social media. There was either TV or billboards. Right. And the state subsidized political billboards.
You made up a candidate.
And I made up a candidate. So posters, I designed them. I made up so I was the left. I was young, so of course I was left wing. Yeah. And I basically took a photograph of myself kind of in the same pose that Lenin, that red sort of graphic, hypergraphic, that brutalist graphic, Soviet graphic. And I said, it said, protest, basically, vota straniero, vote for the stranger, Alexander Josephson. All right. And I had 4 foot by 6 foot posters. I had giant ones that you had to put a bunch up, and you'd use glue on billboards, and you could hire people to do that. But the posters cost, instead of something that would cost $100 here, it was subsidized. So the cost of, say, I think it was hundreds or thousands of posters, it was like hundreds of dollars, or like $1,000 or something. And yeah, I'm not joking. And so then I hired gypsies to help me put them up all over the place. And I have photographs of these. And I remember people who knew me, they were like, man, you're crazy, man. You're crazy. My girlfriend's father was like, you're out there. But he liked it. And I think it was
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So what led you away from there?
So what happened was the relationship ran its course. I got my master's degree in Rome. And basically we won the Van Alen Institute prize. It was the fellowship to go to New York, and our relationship was really on the outs at that point. And I got a sense of what betrayal is like, real betrayal. Okay. And our relationship was on the outs, but we did this fellowship together and went to New York. It was 2008, so the financial crisis was alive. And then in 2009, we went to New York. And so when crises erupt around the world, it affects relationships in the end. And this affected our relationship. Yeah. But we did this fellowship together, not as a couple anymore, but as collaborators. Yep. And what we did was next level. We projected a design constitution on the side of the UN building with a giant projector and a gas generator in the back of a car parked on an off-ramp.
Crazy.
It was crazy. Today, I'm sure I would have been arrested and put in jail.
For sure.
Like, it would have been
no question.
But it was 2008, 2009, that was 2009/10. So people were more concerned about other things, and you could probably get away with a lot more. I don't know. Maybe not, but
I don't know, man. Look what people get away with now.
That's how I left Rome, though. Yeah. There was a financial crisis. Yeah. I won this fellowship.
For a good opportunity.
Yeah. And then the question was, do you stay in New York? New York thought the sky was falling when the financial crisis happened. Everybody moved out. You could rent a place in Soho where I rented a place, and it was unbelievable. And I was kind of in this bubble, and Canada was in this bubble too, because we didn't really experience the financial crisis the same way that Italy and other countries, United States, experienced it. Canada kind of was a bit of a blip. There were some projects that were affected. Some people were obviously affected, but Canada came out of that thinking like, oh, we're better than now. And that arrogance exists today. That arrogance is what's created this economy here. That lack of, you accidentally didn't get hit with the financial crisis because you're so risk averse and you're so risk managed and you're so under leveraged comparatively at the time that you got away, right? Mm-hmm. But what allowed you to do that? Incredible conservatism in terms of a business culture, incredible incumbency,
right?
Incredible. We like to think of ourselves in this country as the most progressive place in the world and all these things. But fundamentally, the other side of that coin is it comes with this incredible provincial hangover. Don't be a tall poppy and stick out. Don't take financial risks. Don't invest in innovation. Regulate the hell and create bureaucracies the size of Mount Everest.
You talk about regulate.
Yeah.
Building
codes that are the worst building codes in the world that people use in places where they can't afford to write a business building code. They adopt the Ontario building code. It's like, anyway, so that's why we left. But that's why I went back to Toronto, because I was like, oh, there's a building boom here. And that was why I left New York.
Okay. Yeah. And so you left on your own?
Yes.
Came back here. And did you find Partisans right away?
No. So I got to go back in time. While I was in Rome and when I won the New York Prize Fellowship, I also completed my thesis, which is probably one of the reasons. Basically, when I was in Rome, you're just confronted with not just the history, but also religion. And having had studio start on September 11th, 2001, I was naturally really curious about Islam. We had war on terror, and I was living in this and the fifth thing was the Pope dying. I was in Rome for John Paul's death. And on an urban scale, I can tell you there is nothing. There's probably only the Kumbh Mela in India that comes close, or the Hajj, to tell you what it's like when a Pope died in Rome. Mm. And John Paul was a special Pope.
He was born in the same village as my grandfather.
There you go, in Poland, right?
Yeah. That's
another thing altogether. But as a Jew, I was like, these are the Abrahamic religions. Like they're one and the same. And while I was in Rome, this, again, religion, politics, culture, architecture. Architecture is obsessed with religion, building sanctuaries, building tombs. These are the most important projects in architectural history: tombs and churches and sanctuaries and tombs and places of worship. They're not office buildings, you know.
And museums.
Sure, museums, but I guess
they're the same kind of thing.
I guess museums, a lot of that. Now we're obsessed with museums, right? Because religion's gone the way of the dodo. And I did a thesis where I built. I always noticed in Toronto that the Queen's Park had a menorah and a Christmas tree, and it comes full circle today because I can also tell you, I can announce a project we won. But there was never anything for Islam. It just seemed like I wanted to hate on Islam. And so I did this thesis that was an examination of the Abrahamic religions. We are one. Islam, Judaism, and Catholicism, it's one. It's the same father, borrowed texts. I mean, I don't like most of the written word of these religions in all three contexts.
Yeah.
And you can study the different authors in each of these. If you're a scholar, these are not these pure writings. They're not.
Yep.
Just like the idea that there's this puritanical approach to these writings is ridiculous because they're not pure. They're not pure. They're written by many people over time. And that is grammatically provable across all three of these.
It's a lot easier to be an atheist.
Sorry?
A lot easier to be an atheist.
I'm not an atheist.
No.
I believe I'm very spiritual, but I'm spiritual in a different way. But
yeah.
So I did a temporary mosque at Queen's Park. And that's when I started to understand the power of where architecture, politics, and culture really overlap. And it got a lot of attention. It was huge. It was hundreds of pieces of thermoform plastic. I used all of my scholarship money to do this thesis. $50,000. Yeah. It was amazing. And the Toronto Star did a full 2-page spread. And at the time, Gabe Gonda, who was this intrepid, probably 30-year-old editor at the Star, he put a reporter on this, and they did a 2-page spread of my thesis in the Toronto Star. I mean, it was unbelievable. And to this day, subsequently, we became very good friends because in a way, he gave me my shot because he was like, what this kid is doing is really important. And this is going to be someone to watch. And Gabe to this day is a very, very good friend of mine. Like a brother, more like almost an older brother, a much older brother. but and that's what, between that and the building boom, because I had to mount my thesis in Canada because I wanted the architecture to be here. So I came back to Canada, and then it was, I didn't start Partisans until after, because I met my initial co-founder at Waterloo when I had to come back to do the end of my thesis after the Alen Institute, and there was still this grinding Cornell thing, not getting into that Ivy League. It was this gnawing kind of salted wound, this insecurity. And so I said to my partner at the time, I was like, we need pedigree. All this profession cares about, the academy, is pedigree. And same with the world. The world's obsessed with pedigree and class and all these things, regardless of what you say. Like, they care. People care. And so I said, you know what? I wanted one last crack at this.
At Cornell?
No. I didn't even bother applying, because at that point I was like, it's not significant.
Okay.
And so it was the Architecture Association in London and Columbia. Those were the two. There was no one else. And I got into both, and it was very satisfying. It was very satisfying. And in fact, for the Architecture Association, I said, I don't want to go alone. I want to come with my business partner, my co-founder, because I think we're going to make a go of this, and you have to let him in if you want me to come. And they did.
Crazy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Now, he was extraordinarily accomplished.
Still crazy.
But
had he applied prior?
No, I forced him to.
So
he applied afterwards. They were like, okay, give us an application.
Okay. So that's what I mean, is you made this request, then he applied, and they looked at it, and then they said, okay. It's not like he had also applied at the same time. They already reviewed it.
No.
And they're like, you know what? Yeah, we can accept that too.
No.
That's wild. Okay.
No. And so the plan was, because he was Iranian, that he would have to get a visa, and it would come 4 or 5 months later, whatever it was. And I would start the term, and I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks in, I was just like, called him, and I was like, I can't do this, man. I'm cooked. And in Italian, there's an amazing phrase, tu sei cotto. And a friend of mine told me about this. He used it to actually insult me, because I was just so into this girl that a friend of mine in Italian said that I was behaving in a way that was like dumb. Like, you're a man, you're your own man. You can live your life. Doesn't matter. Like, you have a girlfriend, and he goes, Alex, tu sei cotto. You're cooked, man. And I thought about that at like the third week of being at the AA, which is it is not Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the Architecture Association School in London. It's where Zaha Hadid went to school, Patrick Schumacher, so many of the most celebrated architects alive working right now went there and or teach there. And so I got in, I went, and after 3 weeks, I was just like, you know what, I can't do this. I feel old compared to the other people here because I already had my master's and I had done a fellowship and I had traveled a lot. And I just was like, I don't think I can do this. I need to start my life. And I dropped out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Opening up 2 spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I dropped out of the AA, but it felt incredibly gratifying to see how rigorous the school was after having gotten in.
Yeah.
And same with Columbia, getting into GSAP.
Yeah.
And it was validating. It was like, you're good enough, kid.
Right.
And then it was back to Toronto, and we started. I renovated an attic space in a building downtown that my grandmother ran. It was one Yorkville. It was the cookbook store. My parents loved cooking, and my grandmother and my uncle and my father opened a cookbook store. I think it was just because they wanted to write every dinner and trip they took to a chef's place or like
right off.
Anyway, so they owned the cookbook store, which was a kind of institution in Toronto at the time, but it was in this dingy building and falling apart. And to make a start in Toronto, I built it myself. I demoed it myself with some friends. I did it all without a permit, and I built like what you would call like a Mertzbau by Kurt Schwitters. Yeah, I built my version of Mertzbau.
I'm naive enough to say I don't know what this is.
So there is this artist named Kurt Schwitters, and he built an apartment. And the unfortunate thing is it was progressive art, and so the fascists destroyed this apartment. But it was a very important 3-dimensionalization of what you would call cubist, suprematist structuralist work. And it's an important piece of art history, the Mertzbau by Kurt Schwitters. And I built my apartment as a kind of art, a 4-dimensional living art installation, a spatial installation. The shower, the toilet, the kitchen, it was all exposed in this volume. And it became a party space, our office, and we were off to the races. I think Jeff Stober from the Drake wrote us our first check just because he thought we were punks and wanted to see what we could do for him. And we were naive. We were so, I think we bring this naivety to our projects today because you have to sort of, to invent, I feel like you have to be you have to have your head in the clouds on a certain set. You have to have one foot in the cloud, one foot on the ground.
Yes.
But yeah, we started, that was 2012.
And what were the projects like when you started?
We did an installation when my grandmother passed away. We did an installation out of cardboard at the Josephson opticians headquarters. My uncle said, I'll give you $20,000 to do a display that is in honor of your grandmother. And we did it, and it got tons of media coverage. It just was this beautiful sculpture, and we made it ourselves. We rented a loading dock at Planet Storage on DuPont at DuPont and Dundas, all the way over there.
Okay.
And we built it and we designed and built it on the deck of my place in Yorkville.
Crazy. And
we rented this. It was the hockey puck factory for Canada. This was the biggest hockey puck factory. That's what the building was, where the Planet Storage was. We rented the Planet Storage. We designed this display, and then we built it ourselves. We wanted a friend of ours from architecture school. We were like, hey, we're going to start a firm, and we didn't have a name for it yet. We just called ourselves Fragile at the time because we didn't know what to name it. And we knew that things were fragile.
Fragile.
Yeah. Because we found these stickers, fragile, handle with care.
Yeah.
You put those on models or things that are, like, and so architecture, the models, we were making a lot of models, and we loved these fragile, handle with care stickers. So we were, and then when we invited that friend to come and help us build it, he chickened out. He was so intimidated by what we were trying to do, because normally architects don't build anything. Architects just draw drawings and then force someone else to figure it out for them. Mm-hmm. An engineer or a builder. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. I started by, the only way you could do what we did for $20,000 is if we did it.
And you bootstrap it
ourselves.
Yeah.
Like drew it, fabricated it,
Yep.
put it together and installed it.
Yep. It's the only way to do it.
That would have cost 5 times what it cost.
For sure.
Right. And this coward of a friend of ours, this coward gave up after an hour or two being with us. He was like, you guys can't do this. I give up. Because, we hadn't done everything perfectly. It wasn't all worked out. We were going to have to fix problems. And he abandoned us. And that's when I knew the difference between us, entrepreneurs, and everybody else. It's not everybody thinks this way.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody feels this way. And this guy, I know his name to this day. I won't say his name,
okay.
But what a coward.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of cardboard we were putting together. It was beautiful. But anyway, so Amy Werner was writing for the Globe and Mail, and she did a piece on this. And she goes, Alex, are you sure you want to be called fragile?
Oh, wow.
And we were like, yeah, probably not. And she was like, yeah, probably not. Do you have a better name? Because this is.
And you weren't incorporated.
We weren't incorporated.
Okay.
This was 2012.
Okay.
And she was like, this is going to be a big story. Like, this is a really cool thing you did.
Yeah.
And it's going to fashion.
People are going to pay attention.
People are going to pay attention.
Yeah.
And it's not just an architecture and design story. It's a fashion story. It's an obituary. It's a whole bunch of things. And that was when Italy came back and the politics. And
right.
Also, our design process was argumentative. It was very dialectical. We didn't agree on everything. The way we got to agreement was by arguing. And so Partisans represents people who fight for a cause, partisans, like Eastern European partisans, but it's also political.
Okay.
It's deeply political. And I had proposed this name, and we took Partisans on as that name. And that was the beginning of Partisans, and we incorporated it in 2013.
And beyond that project, what were some of the other early projects that you had? Did you have residential projects? Did you have anything commercial, civic, public? Like, what did it look
Nothing.
like? Okay.
No. And the other reason we call ourselves Partisans is when we got back to Canada, the architectural regulatory body here stripped me of my experience time because I had worked all over the world.
Right.
And in some of the places, I didn't have a visa. I was there on a educational thing. I wasn't on a work visa.
Right.
And these people had the temerity to say that because I didn't have a quote unquote work visa, that they wouldn't give me my hours. And they were stripping years of experience,
right,
stealing my time.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing I learned in the world, besides mothers and wives. If someone steals your time, they've stolen something so precious. The universe can't give you back your time.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to steal the time from me. And so we said, well, fuck this. And they did it to him too. And we said, we're going to start our own.
Right.
We don't care. We'll work with architects that have a stamp and they'll mentor us and we'll get there. And you wouldn't believe the number of cease and desist letters I got. I had 3.5 degrees in architecture. So did my partner,
mm-hmm,
too. And we were being attacked by the regulators because people were referring to us as architects. We weren't referring to ourselves as architects.
I've heard this story so many times from so many different people.
Yeah.
About how just asinine. It's like you're just creating work.
Listen, you have to regulate the profession.
I get it, but
listen, doctors, lawyers, architects, engineers have to be regulated. These are critical services that have life and death consequences.
I agree,
and it's really about that. But that was the reason. Right. I had worked for architects that run circles around architects in Canada, and they refused to recognize my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the reasons we called ourselves Partisans was that it was about fighting back. And we found architects to work for us. We worked around it.
Right.
We found architects who shared our cause. Michael McClellan from ERA, he helped us. Philip Evans from ERA.
Phil's coming on next week.
Bam! So like these are the guys. Like instead of this like petty, uncompetitive sort of, we were being attacked.
Right. And
instead of saying no, Philip and Michael were like, yeah, and they helped us. And then we found our third partner, and he helped, and he mentored us,
Right.
and he had a stamp, and we brought him in. And, like, that's why we called ourselves Partisans. There was a cause, and we were fighting for not just our freedom. We were fighting for other architects' freedom. We were fighting for, academic justice.
Right.
And we were fighting for a beautiful design in a city that frankly doesn't celebrate it enough. And we were off to the races in a way, but it was the sauna that changed everything. It was the grotto sauna that really changed everything.
In what way?
So my thesis attracted attention, and what it did was put people who were interested in design.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, who is this? Who are these guys? And so a couple of people, I met a man named Anthony Novak at a party for the power plant, who's still a friend of mine. I saw him a couple days ago. And he was like, I loved your thesis, and I want to hire you to do my house, my farm. It was called Farmageddon. So he gave me a shot. And then Kim Bozak gave me a shot, and she did the sauna with her husband. And between the farm and the grotto, that was what laid the real foundation. Before that was the thesis and the installations we did.
Right.
But then the real architecture, it was the sauna, and then Jonathan Puya and I were off to the races.
And what did it look like as you went off to those races? Like, and I don't know that you need to go into like all the specifics, but like what were some of these projects in terms of scale, location, the client's ambition for what you would come up with?
Well, I mean, off to the races I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah, of course.
This has been a slog.
I'm not saying that you all of a sudden you just like people are like, oh yeah, by the way, here's $100 million. Go give me something, and you had like 14 of those. No,
we were hustling. We were engaged. I was really out there. I mean, I went from being kind of introverted and not very good socially to having to be very. And this I learned this in Rome as well. It wasn't until I got back to Toronto that I realized I have to be more friendly. I have to be more curious about other people, because I think that part of that feeling alone was from not really engaging with people enough.
Right.
And so I realized if I wanted to be an architect, I would really need to work on this personally, psychologically. And so the way we got these works after those two projects, Bar Raval being the next big boom, was from being out there and investing and being a citizen in the city and attending things and supporting causes. And so I'll give you two examples. Supporting the power plant got me Anthony Novak. That's how I met him at a party at the power plant gallery.
Yep.
Being supportive of institutions in the city put me in the space of an orbit of people who were interesting and ambitious, and the institutional leaders. And then Bar Raval came from the grotto. The grotto went viral, and the clients didn't like that. It was an invasion. They felt it was an invasion of their privacy, even though it was so remote. But I was sad to know that. I was sad that they felt that it's a double-edged sword. Canadians are very private people.
I know.
And in the United States or Europe, the things I basically had to shut down communications on Grotto for 2 years because I felt so threatened.
Right.
And, but we were lucky. We got Bar Raval, and Bar Raval also went viral, but we got Bar Raval in the most Canadian way.
Playing hockey?
No.
It's Tim Hortons?
No, in New York.
I'm joking. Yeah.
Seriously. What's the most Canadian thing in the world? Leaving and being told by someone else who to work with. Oh, this Canadian that I've heard of. So Grant Van Gameron's in New York for the San Pellegrino Prize for being a chef of note. And someone I was also dating at the time was doing strategy for companies in New York and Toronto. And she was like, have you seen, like basically they were at the table with San Pellegrino, and San Pellegrino people were like, what's next for you? he's like, I want to do a tapas bar, like this incredible wood, kind of like Prague, Art Nouveau. And by sheer luck in New York, this girl, Phoebe, was like, this woman, Phoebe, was like, you need to hire these guys that did this sauna in Toronto. You guys, have you seen this? And he hadn't seen it, but he was showing it in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable, right? And then after we did it, it went totally viral. It won incredible awards for innovation, and it to this day is very innovative. And those two projects gave us our start.
Mm-hmm.
It introduced us, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And then we were hired. We somehow won the commission to help participate on the interior fit out of Union Station. The Thompson family's real estate company, run by Lauren Zucker, called Osmington,
Mm-hmm.
was like, I mean, I don't know how he would describe it, but how I would describe it is like, I think he saw an opportunity to leverage some really strong talent and horsepower for very little.
Right.
And I think he got a lot out of it, and the station got a lot out of it. We helped make sure that the ambition there was that it was a, like transit stations like Termini in Rome, like these are pretty, traditionally they were not positioned to be safe, beautiful places.
Yes.
Like, the retail was low. Like the most memorable thing about Union Station was Cinnabon and people smoking.
Tough. Cinnabon and
Oh yeah, they did.
Station. I remember the location. That
It was the whole station reeked of Cinnabon and cigarettes,
and the way that they that would pump that smell out there.
Oof. Anyway, so we re-envisioned Union Station with a friend, Andrew Francis, and Brad Keast, also a friend of Randy's, and the vision was a platform for Toronto's best culinary and cultural retail offerings, a destination, not a conduit. And that totally influenced the retail ambition, the architecture and design ambition of those spaces. And if you go there today, it is unbelievable how successful that has been.
So, looking at the evolution of your practice, whether it was a couple months, couple years.
Who was employee number one?
Yeah. When did you have to hire your first employee?
Well, we were hiring students that we were teaching at U of T and George Brown.
Okay.
So we were already hiring students to help us.
Okay.
And we hired some friends when we got Union Station, but until Union Station, I would say there were many, many people. We're going to release a book this year. More than 80 people have come through our office.
Since 2012. Wow, that's a lot of people.
Well, since 2011, since we graduated.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
And for a small little company, it's 80, 85 people or something like that. But who do I remember? I remember.
To be honest, I actually wasn't looking at it from the standpoint of like who the people were. It was more so like when did you bring them in? What was the role they had to fulfill? Was it drafting?
Well, there were key things that happened. So before it got really serious with Union Station, we had brought in a few people who we knew. There were some U of T students helped out. There was a girl named Layla Salty who was around. There was Shamir Panchal, who ended up at BDP Quadrangle. There was Nathan Bishop, who is here today, to this day. Great student from U of T that I knew as a young prof at the time. And that was how we made ends meet. We were both teaching.
Right. Okay.
We were teaching at Waterloo, George Brown, and U of T.
Okay.
And so that helped us. But what I would say is, so Nathan Bishop and then Yvonne Vasiliev and Dove Feinmeister, and there was a group, an intrepid group in the beginning. Some stayed a long time, like Ivan. Betty Wong was around. She was great.
And what did they have to do? What was their role?
Doing everything. BIM, model making,
Okay.
Rhino.
There you go. This is
Sub D.
Yeah.
Grasshopper. We were early adopters of we were probably, as much as we were about aesthetics, form, culture, politics, we were, to do anything, you have to create your own tools.
Yes.
Any great artist any great engineer, you're creating your own tools. So we were writing our own scripts. We were creating our own tools.
Okay.
To do Bar Reval, you had to write computer technology to do that. You couldn't do it you needed to innovate. And so we had people who joined us Ariel Cook. He was a student who ended up these people ended up going to Harvard. Betty Vuong went to Harvard. Ariel went to Penn. Ivan did a master's of business at Ryerson while he worked for us after having done his architecture degree. These were extraordinary people.
Mm.
And they really helped our firm in the beginning, and they ended up going on amazing places. The other person, Ariel Weiss, is at Yale right now.
And as it stands now, what types of projects with what kind of global reach are under the umbrella of Partisans?
So we have had nothing short of a blessed 3 years. So in 2023, after the partnership dissolved and I took over Partisans on my own, we picked up an enormous amount of work helping Air Canada, which we're rolling out this year.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
We also had other projects on the go with real estate developers, towers. Elm Street came through the office. We won a RFP to do the design work for Live Nation on the Ontario Place project. We're partnered with Gensler on that. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I would say so.
And
for those that are unaware of that, I mean, you might be aware of Air Canada if you're listening, but like if you're not familiar with Live Nation and the Ontario Place, you got to know that like it's an institution for concerts in Toronto.
Life-changing commissions have been won, and we won our first international project with an incredible benefactor in the United States based out of Puerto Rico and Boston, who is a genius, incredible. We're going to build a music foundation for him. It's his legacy. And
you're working with Sherry.
Yeah, I'm working with Sherry.
Which we haven't even mentioned. So for those listening, Sherry's also my sister-in-law.
There you go.
Also an architect.
Yes.
And she is fantastic.
Sherry's amazing. She's the project manager for it. And she's an architect here in Toronto.
Yeah.
Keeping us on our toes, keeping us honest. I've had some wonderful travel with Sherry. She's really charismatic. I like her.
Yeah.
And
it's a great project.
So we're working on that project.
Yeah.
And it was just so thrilling to win that. So thrilling. Just like, it's been a hard, to get to a point where you're winning projects.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard, man. Like,
well, I mean, and
you don't know where your next project's coming from. You're financing the company. It's really hard. It's really hard.
That's why I do this podcast.
It's really hard.
Because it's important to understand the foundations of all the things that have happened in someone's life to be able to take on the responsibility of hiring staff, being responsible for putting food on the plate of those people, because you have to win work. And winning work in the environment that exists largely here in Canada, but beyond, and I would say more.
The competitive qualities of this field
are it's
construction
crazy.
And architecture is corrosive.
Ferocious
competition.
I just found out 2 days ago, and we were talking about this before we hit record, but that the design the supply, the construction industry, all encompassing engineering and all the consultants, globally, it's a $13 trillion industry. And if I'm wrong on that, based on my research, feel free to reach out to me and tell me that I'm wrong.
You're right.
But 13 trillion, it is a larger industry than pharma. It's a larger industry than the automotive industry. I don't know if it's the largest, but
no.
It's
finance and banking.
Yeah,
largest.
It's got to be the industry. Yeah,
that's the largest. Yeah. I think energy is bigger than construction.
Energy plays into construction.
No, but
as a segment.
Energy is a segment. Fair. I believe, but it's top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
My guess is it's finance and banking.
Yeah.
Followed by energy and infrastructure, and then and then construction,
like
pure
design.
construction.
Yeah,
Well, because construction touches everything.
right.
Banking touches everything. Energy touches everything.
I mean, to me, Alex, having heard now, we've known each other for a couple of years, but I actually known each other.
Yeah.
And I never knew all of this. But
Small world, small circles.
Yeah. But to know that you start out with some serious challenges in life and potentially an uncertain direction of where you're going to land working now on design work I know you like music, so to be able to work on something like Live Nation, to be able to work on international projects related to music, but then also, a Canadian Crown Corporation of Air Canada.
Well, it's not a Crown Corporation.
Kind of.
Maybe
it's not defined as one.
No, I actually won a Crown Corp. Our first Crown Corporation commission, we won it in the last 2 months, and it was announced on April 28th, just 2 days ago.
Okay.
I'm allowed to. It's been posted by the Premier's office and the Minister of Labor, but we won what I think is like hallowed ground rail style project.
What did you win? We
won the commission to design the construction workers memorial for Ontario at the legislature at Queen's Park.
Crazy.
And that's like a forever commission. That's a Crown Corporation, extremely relevant to our profession.
Yes.
Very relevant in terms of placement. It's right there on University Avenue in the most important city in Canada, at least economically. And it may not be the biggest project, but to win anything public in Canada for a young firm like ours, like even 12 years old, 13 years old, that's a baby in architecture world.
Yeah.
But to win that has been an honor of a career so far. Like, just, it's a small project, a couple $1 million, but like in terms of construction costs, but like it's so meaningful,
right? And
so solemn. And to have been there with the Premier and him and the Minister of Labor and people who've lost their brothers and sisters in construction, speak, and then for me to be asked to say something, I mean, it was like speaking at someone else's eulogy,
right?
It was.
That's weird.
Powerful.
And
so humbling.
Yeah. How do you find the right words to be? Yeah, that would be.
I was careful.
I would say I would not say much.
Let's just say this. It wasn't about beating my chest. And
no way.
It was about doing their family and next of kin respect and honor and frankly, making the government look good.
Yeah.
Because this is an ambitious design they picked. Right. Really ambitious.
Right.
It's an algorithmically inspired, very ambitious project. And anyway, we didn't talk about memorials, but memorials are really important to architects. Some of the most memorable, some of the most recognized elements of architectural history are memorials.
I mean, look, there's another element that we haven't really even touched on that is a whole other conversation. So maybe I have to go to Europe and then come back and have this conversation.
You might have to,
but I will just add this because I don't want to go into it just based on time, but there's a whole other side of your business that we haven't even discussed.
Technology and entrepreneurship.
Yes. So if you're listening to this, my recommendation to you is that if you're interested in learning more that we haven't touched on yet, head over to the Partisan website. You can see a lot of what's going on there. They're in different forms of media that whatever you might follow, you can find. As you've heard, Alex is very interested in all the ambitions that he takes on. I'm saying this in third person with you.
Yeah, I'm right here, buddy.
So I hope that you've enjoyed it. Alex, thank you for taking so much time to do this today. It's been a joy chatting with you about all of the successes and the trials and tribulations that you've experienced in your life to be able to land where you are now.
We barely scratched the surface.
I know. How do you?
Architecture is so slow, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's so slow, and it's a miracle that anything beautiful gets built because time is tough.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed. What's great is that you're doing this in Toronto, and it's a lovely space to be able to speak in, and you're in construction. I think there's so many more things we can talk about. But yeah, architects can do a lot, bricks and bytes. So come to partisans.com, Partisans Architecture on Instagram, cumulus.world for memorialization. Look us up, send us a note.
Yeah.
Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hate. Say hi.
And I'm going to feature some of the work that Alex wants to on the Issue for Construction podcast, Instagram. And I would just ask one other thing. If you're here right now, a little bit of help goes a long way. You can give this podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening. It helps with some level of other people's ability to see it. So, that said, thanks for listening.
Great job.